Hey Austin, thanks for joining us here today.
Yeah, happy to be here, Dave.
Awesome.
Yep.
Listen, why don't you just start off by telling us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what kind of made you brought you into the military?
Yeah, I started off here in Tarpon Springs. Lived here my whole life. Um, kind of, went to high school. Uh, huge into wrestling. That was kind of everything for me. Real tough, home grew up in. Um, Parents both super into drugs. The whole thing just, kind of a rough environment and not a good jumping off point into getting into my own life. Um, so when I turned 18, dropped out of high school. That was early in my high school career, or early in my senior year. Um, so I started working at Chili's instead of, going to school. Was like, might as well get paid to be somewhere all day. Um, then at some point I was like, party has to stop hanging out with people and find something better to do. Because I didn't want to go down, kind of the wrong path. Um, Once high school was over, wrestling's gone. That's, half of who I am. You lose a lot of that. Um, so, yep, joined the army. That was 2016. I, you know, go to South Carolina for basic training. Uh, get through that. AITs in Oklahoma at Fort Sill for the U.S. Army. Um, and then I get stationed at Fort Lewis, Joint Base Lewis McChord in Washington. Um, when I first got there, it's you know no one's there. Everyone's in South Korea at the time, so I'm just kind of me and the majors hanging out. I get assigned to an Atom cell in division, so I did 14 Golf. That's air defense, battle space management. So basically, in an Atom cell, you ride out just in an up armor truck with big old uh, air defense cell attached to the back of it. Set up a tent, set up all your computers, and kind of work with radar and Aegis systems and things like that. Um, so yeah, when I get there, not much for an air defense unit to do in division. Division is a lot of just officers pushing paperwork. They call it a retirement home for some of those guys. So it's sleepy. Uh, One of the majors there kind of like heard, I was super into martial arts, super into wrestling and everything, and he's like, what's we got all this extra funding, no one's here, everyone's in South Korea. He's like, let's send you to the combatives program. So I do the level 1 and 2 combatives programs back to back, and kind of I was like, this is martial arts again. This is awesome. I am doing what I like to do. So I got super involved in that. I was like, if there's anything I can do to keep coming back, spent a majority of my time there, and I was 300 PT score kind of guy, like always in tip top shape. Kind of as a big part of me is just staying always, combat ready. That's what I joined the army to be, combat ready. I wasn't one of the guys who kind of slacked off and got fat, rest on the laurels and stuff. So um, yeah, I spent a lot of time doing the combatives program there. Really worked with a lot of great guys. Built it up a lot. And by my last couple of years in service, I was running with someone named Sergeant Castillo. We ran that program over at Fort Lewis for HHB 2ID Devarty. So anyone who was coming to the combatives program, they come to see us, and it was great. You do everything from detaining, MMA with guns, basically. You know what I'm saying? You do vehicle extraction, dynamic entry. Kind of core mission value there is just to set folks up so that they have the tools they need to protect themselves overseas. Not a lot of people are going to do reoccurring combat training. If you're not an infantryman, if you're not an artilleryman, you're not always going to be constantly out in the field drilling combat. So a lot of these guys, maybe they got pugil sticks in basic training or something. A lot of these, units are not going to stay on hand-to-hand combat in actual like close combat, small combat situations like that. So really for us it was trying to convince soldiers and get soldiers to do this on their own. We'll open up the fight house anytime that folks want to come in and keep it open a few hours a day so that people can come in and get that reoccurring training. I think it's a huge problem we have with police today. I think it's a huge problem we have with soldiers today. I think you see a lot of people who they love wearing the T-shirt that they're the tough guy out there, but they don't want to do what it takes to, get that reoccurring training, stay, keep the knives sharp is what I call it. You got to stay out there. You got to be shooting. If anyone's ever done archery, I do a lot of shooting the bows. If I didn't shoot the bow for 2 months, I'm gonna be a lot different than, so it's something that you got to stay on top of. I hate to say it, and I'm not trying to make fun of nobody, but I hate seeing fat police officers. I hate seeing fat soldiers. To me, it's not that the minimum, we'll just call it the PT score. Let's just go off the standards that are already set. But, for me, it's not, okay, well, for your age and weight and you got to be able to do this. It's like, no, what's the maximum PT score? That is the job. Like, you're being paid to do that. You're being paid to wake up, be able to run 13-minute miles, or 2 miles, You're being paid to be able to do, 120 push-ups in 2 minutes. You gotta be, you are a frontline soldier at the core of it. That's what Marines always say, every Marine is an infantryman. Well, every soldier at some point, if they need you to be an infantryman, you're an infantryman. That's what soldiering is. That's what it is to me. Is maybe it's too chauvinistic to go, and just make it too much about the actual warrior itself. But I mean,
That's the military.
I'm a dude with a lot of testosterone, and I grew up, that was what it is. Like, you look at samurais and Spartans, and when you say you're gonna go and be a United States soldier, what does that mean to you? Do you want to be like a Spartan hoplite? Do you want to be like a samurai? Or do you want to be, okay, I'm an American soldier, but I'm all, fat and nasty, and I can't even stand up to half of these folks from history who are warriors. It's just keeping that tradition going, and I think the tradition of that's important. Obviously, you don't need to be a big Herlock, muscular, crazy dude to, fly a drone sometimes, but the idea is still the same. That I think, it does keep you sharp, it does keep you cognitive, and it keeps you, on task. And I think it's part of what soldiering is. It means a lot to me. And so I spent a lot of time, really trying to build folks up, because that was one thing I noticed when I got in the Army is there was a lot of laxity, and I, not that I was like the most stuck up, stick in the mud guy there, but it's like, do you guys know what you signed up for? I mean, I thought we were here for, I thought we were here to be warriors, not to be, goofing around and whatever. And it's not everyone, it's just, the system's a little bit different than maybe I predicted. But that being said, there was also, I served with a ton of just really great, really hard guys, and I can't say enough good things about a lot of the soldiers and veterans that, I've gotten to work with personally. Definitely working with, again, you can tell just by the way I talk, I'm more of a hands-on kind of, like, I just want to get in the mud and wrestle with folks. I worked with a lot of those aviation guys, and they're totally cool with just being slick, like, helicopter pilots, and they're like, well, I'll just chase you around the desert in a helicopter. And I've heard some, wild stories from those guys too. So, aviation, again, like, great guys. Couldn't say enough good things about it. But yeah, I mean, definitely coming from a little bit tougher, nastier roots on the civilian side, and then having the Army to, I wouldn't say it helped straighten me out so much. I've always felt there are things that I still learn today about myself that I'm like, wow, well, I've learned that in the military. So you get a lot from it.
It's just
Yeah.
being part of something much bigger than yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. They say that, and I didn't even, have to actually go overseas. I never had to lose anybody close to me. I never had to, experience, and thank God. I mean, there's a lot of people who think that mars their career or something, and I mean, look, you had me for 4 years, you could have done anything you wanted with me. You tell me to sleep in a hole, sleep in a hole. You tell me to go in that building, go in that building. Doesn't matter to me, But I think soldiers just, that sacrifice away from their family, that time they're spending, I think it means a lot.
That's exactly what it is.
in terms of going overseas, I spent a total of 9 months in South Korea. I did many trips to South Korea, different joint operations with the ROK Army. Tons of great ROK soldiers. Those are badass dudes. A bunch of those guys, career soldiers, South Korea's a little bit different with, they got the 2-year guys in and out. But actual ROK soldiers, that they don't care what they're getting paid. They're just in there doing it for the love of the game. Those guys, mad respect for them. Yeah, love the ROK soldiers. Since time in Japan as well, and then I spent a month on Guam. That is the most godforsaken island on the planet. Mosquitoes and everything, but we did a mission with the Navy over there. Everything that we personally trained for, Fort Lewis, we're obviously Pacific Theater, so all of it is just anti-Chinese. Let's call it what it is. It's just, it's important to stay relevant and be able to defend yourself against near-peer foes. And, you're not really pointing fingers at anyone, but you kind of are too. So, so that's the kind of stuff we trained for. That's where I spent, time away from home. But for the most part, it was, running my Combatives program over there at Fort Lewis, and really liked that. It's great for me.
So what was the transition like when you decided, okay, I'm done here, didn't re-up anymore, because you didn't retire, right? You just...
Yep. So I decided not to re-up because, to be honest, I did get a golden ticket. I got a great base. I worked with some great people, and I got to do what I loved. And I know for a fact that if I would have re-up, then I'm most likely going to be 265 days a year in the field, working in tents and stuff. And not that I don't want to deal with that, but I've got my GI Bill. I don't see myself. I wasn't going to do 20 years in the military ever. It was always going to be like 1-2 contracts and get out. In my opinion, it's do I take this 4 years and now I start my actual life, or do I hang around for another 4 years for what? Then when I'm going to college, I'm 30 years old going to college. I'm a few ranks higher, a little bit more military experience, but really just in terms of the way I was trying to conduct my life, there wasn't much more benefit to stay. I don't think you do 2 contracts. I think you do 1 contract or you go 20. I think that's it. In my opinion, I think that's the best way to handle it, because nothing wrong with doing 20 years. Go be a lifer. That's absolutely makes sense to me. But 4 years of 20 is kind of my 420. It's kind of my thing, So anyways, yeah. So I got out. My last 6 months, I still hung around the fight house. I still helped out over there, but there's a program that I got into where I got to go to take college classes. So I went to Highline Community College, a couple hours away over in Des Moines in Washington.
Okay.
Did some international business classes there. And then after that 6 months, got out of the military, moved back here to Florida. COVID kicked off right away. So kind of that was a year of my buddy just got back from FSU. I just got back from the Army. Meet up at his mom's house. Both lived there for a year. Whining alien movies and stuff and just hanging out. That cannot go on forever.
Yeah.
That quickly depletes all of the martial training. So kind of got away from that. I got a job at a appraisal firm in Tampa. That's called BBG, big commercial valuation company. And then that same buddy moved from FSU into his mom's house with me. Got the same day. We started the same day somehow. He starts working at Marcus and Milltrap, a commercial real estate firm, on the floor right above me in the same building in downtown Tampa. It was, unplanned, just, yeah, where you're supposed to be, I guess. So I did that for a little while. Tampa became too expensive to afford after everyone started moving here for COVID. Absolutely crazy. 1-bedroom apartment was too expensive. Yeah. So by now I'd already met my partner Rachel. So we're together. We've got a daughter and a son on the way.
Nice.
Yeah. So I work for a technology company now called Paradigm Technologies. I do sales and solutions over there. I'm kind of a lifelong learner, so I'm never going to stop getting certificates and degrees and things like that. So I'm still in school. I'm getting my organizational leadership bachelor's degree right now. And then, I'll just keep on getting technology-based certificates, and, I learn a language, I don't care. But I think it's important to keep the mind sharp and continuously find things to do. I don't care if you want to learn how to draw. Just go find something that challenges you a little bit more than just TV and scrolling. I don't think people understand that you hear that you gotta train the mind. Like, you train the body and you can see it. It's like, dang, Dave, you're jacked. You've been really training, but the mind is the same thing. It will get dull, and I think that's a lot of the problem with people being unhappy and low morale and depression, anxiety problems and stuff. Your mind's becoming weak and numb, and how much time do you just take to sit and deal with your own thoughts? I mean, it used to be you don't have as much access to podcasts and radio and TV and everything and music, and there's a lot of downtime of just you picking weeds in the yard, just thinking. And I think nowadays it's like you drown out as much empty space as possible with just music and podcasts and ideas and stuff from other folks. And I think it's really important to constantly train mind, body, and soul. Again, these things sound corny and cheesy, and you've heard it a million times. And I think maybe people just want a better answer. Like, they want something different. I've heard that, but I don't want to have to do that. But no, I think, there's a million different flavors of spirituality. Go find one that fits you. Stay spiritual, keep learning, and stay fit. And take care of yourself, eat right, Those are all things that, again, maybe the military helped teach that, but I think it's just a conglomerate of life experience. Just, the life before, during, and after has just kind of got me to a point that, that's the belief system that I've developed from that.
Perfect. So thank you for your time again. Greatly appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Dave.